so there is no apologies. Second item is declarations of interest for items on the agenda. Do we have any from members? No. I don't see any members indicating. Item 3 is the minutes of the last meeting from the 10th of June. They're attached in our agenda 11 to 18, page 11 to 18. Can we all agree those, please? Could I have a proposer and a second?
Agreed.
Okay, thank you. Moving on then to the first item on the agenda, which is the Back on Track Coronavirus Recovery Plan. Again, fourth version of this now as we get up and running again as lockdown begins to ease and obviously to get back to as much as normality as possible. The report is based on 5 areas: reopening our safe and successful retail centres, supporting health and well-being, economic recovery, stepping up capabilities, and financial recovery. I think just before we go into each of those in detail, we'll go through each section. I'll bring in cabinet members. It's just to say thank you to all our staff from the front line through to those working from home, all the way up to our directors for the sterling work they've been doing over the last month or so since we met as cabinet and throughout this. And I'm sure we'll be paying tribute to them more as we go through this agenda. So starting on the first of those priorities for getting back on track, that is the reopening of our safe and successful retail centres. Since we last met, we've had the market up and running. We've had the non-essential retail up and running on the 15th of June. And then just last weekend, we had the opening of the hospitality bars and restaurants. That's taken a lot of work from the council officers. It's taken a lot of work from Newcastle Bid in the town centre as well. But highly successful. I think the market is looking really vibrant at the moment. All shops have got their social distancing gear in place and are opening as best as they can. And then, of course, the pubs and bars also are opening within using that social distancing and rules they've been given to open as well. But I'm going to bring in Deputy Leader Stephen Sweeney first for some updates on reopening our town centre. Just unmute yourself, Steve.
Sorry. I think a lot of people deserve a pat on the back. I think our officers do. I think the police do. I think the bid does. I think our shopkeepers do. And finally, I think our pubs do. We put a lot of work and effort working with other people to try to get this working well. I think the market is looking really good at the moment, especially the antiques forum. It's full on a Tuesday now. It's tremendous. Well, I spoke to the police this morning about how Saturday night went, which I think is something of interest to us. And it went basically as a normal night. The only sort of drawback was, I think, the pubs have got their bouncing staff starting 8 o'clock or whatever, and I think people were, because it was the first night, were getting in the pubs a bit earlier than that. They were getting in sort of 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock before the bouncing staff arrived. So the police have been to talk to the publicans about, and they're out again on Saturday and Friday, Saturday night. But speaking today, they really think it's been all right. It's not been silly. Of course, the nightclubs aren't open yet. It's just the pubs. The last pub shuts at 1 o'clock. By 1:30, things are quieting down, and I think it's a pretty successful story. The nightclub economy. It's not rammed, but it's got to start somewhere. And I think it was a good news story on there Saturday night. Personally, thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, and I think in the outline areas as well, local pubs have opened again using the beer gardens, etc., which is more space around some of the urban bars and pubs, and also the shops as well on the shopping parades have opened, and they've all had social distancing stickers and other things that indicate that social distancing is required when entering shops or coming outside. So I think again that's been supported by the council. We've wrote to different sectors of businesses just to let them know some links, for example, on where to get some advice on safe reopening. So I think we've done all we can. We've helped businesses, and as Stephen said, it's been a success so far, and that's really what the economy needs here in Newcastle and across the country is really safe reopening, so we don't obviously have any other outbreaks that would mean they have to close again. I think as far as I can see, Newcastle on Saturday night and since then, since the bars and the pubs have opened, has acted responsible, very responsible, and that's tribute to the people of Newcastle and also our businesses and also our officers that are helping the businesses to open safely. Open to up 2 other comments now. I'll bring in Paul. Do you want to come in, Paul?
Thanks, Leader. At the risk of echoing Councillor Sweeney's remarks. It's been a team effort all along, and I would like to also pass my thanks on to the individuals that have been working not just on the front line, but have been able to hold everything together in terms of the management and the structures in place to keep everybody safe, and also to keep the services open and running in the background. So although they're not always there to be seen by the public, it goes on nonetheless, and it's very integral to the safe running and the efficiency of the council. So that I would like to just extend that to globally to everybody that's involved, and just to echo the thoughts that the Councillor Sweeney's just reiterated. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Paul. Jill, from a Kids Grove perspective.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I just wanted to say a quick word about Kids Grove. It's all the hairdressers are open now. We've got a lot of hairdressers in Kids Grove, and the barber shops have had queues down the street, and I know that the staff working in there are going home at the end of the day absolutely worn out, so that's really good for business. We've just got a couple of beauty salons and a tanning centre to open now, and things in Kids Grove are looking quite good at the moment. And I would just like to say, well, I've got this opportunity, how much as councillors appreciate how the council have handled everything. They've kept the services going, and that's down to the dedication of the executive and the officers, and I think we should all be congratulated. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. And your new haircut is looking amazing as well. I can see you've had one too. So have I as well. So finally, we've all began to get a haircut, which is great. Helena.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, actually, everything I was going to say has actually been said by my colleagues around. But yeah, you know, congratulations to all the officers, the hard work that goes on behind the scenes in order for us to be able to reach the point where we are now, opening in a safe environment to get our retail centres and town centres successful again.
Thank you, Helena. Trevor, do you want to add anything?
Well, I'm down here in the New Forest, and so I was here on the 4th, so I was seeing what was happening. The police were quite heavy-handed, and they were the place where I'm staying at the moment. 3 visits during the night, but they kept on top of it. I think 3 pubs were closed down. Now, I don't know whether our police in Newcastle gave the light touch. I don't know which way to go, but you know, it seems pretty peaceful down here.
Yes, okay. Thank you for the update from your holiday destination. Thank you for tuning in to during that. But no, I think it wasn't light touch. I think it was appropriate, really, in Newcastle. And as Stephen has said, you know, the report back from the police has no significant issues, and we'll be monitoring it going forward as you know, we're in a new normal when it comes to bars and restaurants at the moment for a significant time. So I think monitoring it going forward, but a successful opening, and we will be supporting businesses via the bid in the town centre, and how we can support them in Kids Grove through Go Kids Grove and the local town council there. We must do that going forward. Moving on then to the second section of Get Back on Track is supporting health and wellbeing. The council, of course, has a key role in this, and Helena's going to give just an update for us now. Over to you, Helena.
Yes, thank you. As the report actually says, you know, we are continuing with our help and support for some of our most vulnerable members within our borough. In terms of support in the immediate for the vulnerable, we've got the call centre and website contacts. So although they're very low, we've been committed to keeping them going for as long as possible, and we're currently having conversations with the Realise agency that we've been working alongside with about possibly permanently continuing their community anchor role. So that's quite an exciting thing to actually look forward to. Over to anybody else who would like to pass comment, really. But you know, my usual thanks to the team behind the scenes that is keeping this going.
Okay, any other comments from cabinet members on the response on health and well-being and supporting the vulnerable? Paul.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, it's important to recognise the good work that's been done. Obviously, as we emerge out of this crisis onto the road to recovery and step up to installing normality back to services, there is an unknown yet that we may face as a borough authority in terms of a perceived need as a reaction to the lengthy shutdown. So I'm pleased to know that everything's healthy in that department in terms of keeping track of that. and also to be able to respond if there's any spikes in terms of demand going forward. So thank you for that, Councillor Maxfield, and thanks for that, Leader.
Anybody else want to come in? No. Do you just want to touch on the homelessness and rough sleeping, Helena? That's a part of the report, I think, is a section which we note some comments.
Yeah, homeless and rough sleepers, as with the directive from the government requiring us to provide emergency accommodation for any rough sleepers in our area. We are currently providing emergency accommodation for 17 individuals in a variety of accommodation with support tiered according to the need, and we're looking at being able to look at how we can extend that if we need to. And we are just carrying on putting out the support and the engagement whenever any rough sleepers or vulnerable people are come across within our town centres, just to ensure that their welfare and well-being is actually being taken care of. So I'm, as I say, I'm really pleased with the way that this has been carried on with a full support team during the whole process on this, all working from home, but also going out and checking on everybody as much as they possibly can do.
Thank you, Helena. And of course, when we see on the television ministers saying, they want all the homeless off the street and accommodated, it's councils like Newcastle Borough Council, district councils that deliver that, and we've done that with the money that the government's provided. Also, we've actually put more money into that ourselves as well to ensure that those vulnerable people are looked after during this period. We'll move on then to economic recovery, and another massive area which the council's involved in, particularly when it comes to looking after the businesses and the business grants. And Stephen's going to give an update on that. Stephen.
Okay, thanks, Leader. Yeah, we had two major sort of tranches of money. The first one was over £20 million. We've given over £20 million to 1,700 businesses now, which is government money, and I think the government have reacted very quickly and very well to this. They've seen a problem and they've done as much as they can do, really, dealing with it. But we've had a second tranche of money, the discretionary fund, basically picking up people that the first tranche didn't get. At the moment, we've given I think £420,000 out on that one, and there's more to go yet. But there's plans in place to move this money out as quickly as we can to make sure our businesses that need a bit of a tide them over a bit, to stop them going out of business. So when they're up and trading properly, they're still in business, still employing staff, keeping staff off the unemployed register. I think it's well done by the government, and it's well done by the council administrating it so quickly and well. Thank you.
Yes, and I think it's a big slab of money really that's gone and invested in keeping Newcastle businesses going, and hopefully that will bear fruit over the next few months as they return to trade. That money will come in handy to see them through. Also, we've for our part, we've got a number of schemes which the council has committed in the council plan to fulfil. We're carrying on with those, and also we've got the Future High Streets Fund, which is later on the agenda. We'll be talking about that, but also the town deals, and obviously the government's put some money up front in those, which will lead to some seed funding for some schemes in both Kidsgrove and Newcastle. Again, that will create economic activity and create some wins for local people going forward as part of the economic recovery. We're going to open it up now to other views. Paul, do you want to come in?
Yeah. Thank you, Leader. Yes, I think it's just to echo that, really. I don't think it needs to be underestimated. We need to be there as a responsive council for need as it arises. My inquiries personally from businesses, now that the first tranche of funding was delivered, the smaller businesses that have been in touch are happy that we've been able to respond appropriately and to assist them during this very difficult time to access the government money as it's been given to us to allocate to on a local level. And I think it's important to get that message that we are all in it together, and we are linked ultimately to central government, and it's important that we respond to our local needs. And whether money's in place for this to happen, we're in that position to be able to deliver it by circulating that money as appropriately given to us. We need to make sure that that's appropriately given to them also. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Paul. Unless there's anything else on economic recovery, we'll move on to the stepping up of council services. Now, as we begin to get our obviously operations and services up and running again, there are restrictions on some. I'm sure Jill will talk about J2 at the moment, and obviously Castle House is another one which we're obviously waiting to reopen as a face-to-face presence, even though the council is providing online and phone support to residents all the way through this. But it does lead to some sort of pinch points for us, and I think under 2.13 of the report you'll see there is implications of the recovery and the ongoing concerns with dealing with the possible outbreak that might come as a result of spikes happening within the borough. Obviously, inspections and enforcement activity, a lot of that was put on hold during the lockdown. Now that's beginning to return, and staff are obviously going out into the community and looking at various businesses for licensing, etc. purposes, and for enforcement activity purposes as well. Homeless support, Helena has already mentioned that, and of course that is a draw on our finances. So the government are giving money, but also we're putting money in as well, and that's going to be a long-term commitment, which we're going to have to take on. I think also licensing applications. We talked about town centres reopening and the bars. They are likely to come in with planning applications over the next few weeks to begin to enable them to use the street frontage, particularly in places like Iron Market and High Street. That will require obviously licensing applications to take place. We've decided not to charge for those applications particularly, and also, but that will create a demand on our staff to get all those through as quickly as possible. We want to do a light touch approach to this to ensure businesses can operate, but again, that is a sort of an extra burden on that service, particularly in the licensing area. And then the local outbreak control measures, our environmental health team will be working with county officers and the health service and the government generally to ensure that obviously social distance is being adhered to, and also if there are any outbreaks that we do control those. We don't want to see North Staffordshire or Newcastle or become like a Leicester, so we are monitoring that pretty closely with the county. Particularly I sit on the county-wide local outbreak board, which is chaired by Alan White, the deputy leader of the county council, and has got the director of public health, Richard, on there as well. So we're really plugged into the county-wide approach to this, and our staff locally are not the enforcers. Well, they are, but they're also the eyes and ears on the ground to ensure that social distancing is being adhered to, and if there are any problems, we can deal with any mini outbreaks so they don't increase into a larger outbreak, which means some of the lockdown restrictions may have to be reimposed, which would be damaging to business and to residents across the borough. But I'm just going to go around to start with Jill, and I think talk about J2 and the museum. Jill.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. As the report says, J2 remains closed. We're waiting for the government guidance as to when it can open, and we're hoping to hear about that very soon. I know that the officers have been working hard on a plan to get J2 open in whatever form that takes, and primarily it will be to keep the users safe, and as soon as we know when that will be happening, we will be advertising it. I think it's very important that we get the swimming pool open as soon as possible and back into action, not just only for the health and fitness of the people, but also to recommence with the swimming lessons, which are also very important. So I'm just hoping it won't be too long now. We'll be advertising it when we get the guidance. That's J2, the museum. What I can tell you, the good news about the museum is that it's going to be opening on the 20th of July. That's a good day. It's my birthday, and I couldn't wish for a better present. Initially, it will be open Monday to Friday, 1 till 5. Visits will be restricted to the ground floor because we cannot put in social distancing on the first floor at the moment. There'll be a one-way system. We can have 25 people an hour, and they will be able to book in advance online, and obviously details for the track and trace will be taken at that time. Some elements of the shop will be open, and hopefully the sun will be shining and people will be able to return and enjoy the museum once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. That's great news about the museum, and we're going to open it in a safe and secure way, but obviously an asset, a jewel in the crown for our borough. Good to see that was going to be reopening. And of course, we hope to bring J2 back online in a phased approach as soon as we can, and the government allows. And that's really key as well for us as well. But thank you for that report back on those areas. Bring in Steve now. Is there anything on stepping up services in your area you would like to talk about?
No, my daughter just got a 2-1 at university.
Oh,
just got the results now.
Well,
That's a bit of good news for me. Well, I feel quite emotional about that. No, licensing obviously and taxi driver is something that is building up, and of course the people who are doing all the new licensing for the bars and restaurants and everything, it's the same team of people. But I think altogether, I mean, we brought the recycling in during this business. I think the way this council has maintained its services during a worldwide pandemic like this is absolutely phenomenal, to be honest with you. And all the staff, all the leadership, and everybody deserves huge credit for the way they kept services going as well as they have. And I think other local authorities could look at Newcastle and think, oh, have they managed to do that? And we haven't. I think it's been nothing short of superb, to be honest with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Going to bring in Trevor now. Steve just touched on the new recycling service. Do you want to give us an update on that?
Sorry, can you just repeat it, Simon, please?
Sorry, would you want to give us an update on the new recycling system, Trevor?
Well, obviously, I'm a little bit behind up here. I've had no messages from Andrew because we have a sort of connection if we do have a problem. It seems to be rolling out very well. I've had no complaints when I left. An interesting point, I was talking to a resident of West London, John McDonnell's constituency. You've never seen a recycling system like it. If we go back to David Beckett's system, it's worse than that.
Thank you, Trevor.
Thought I'd check it with you, you know?
Yes, no, and I think you're quite right about the rollout of the new service. I think as more and more residents come on board with that and get their bins and their bag, and then they start the week after, I'm getting some good reports from across the borough with that. So I think it's welcome. As you said at the last cabinet meeting, it takes out some of that cost we've been incurring through lockdown, when we, as Stephen said, we continue to ensure we collected everything, you know, when we needed to, and also that we kept the garden waste collections going as well. So I think it's all systems ahead on that one, and most of the borough will be, by the beginning of August, will be online with the new system, and hopefully, you know, from strength to strength. But thank you for that, Trevor, and also for your information about that places in London are still in the Stone Age when it comes to recycling systems, and that we've got one now, which
absolutely
we can be proud of, I think. And that's one of the main things we said we wanted to do in 2017 when we came in as administration, was to sort that recycling system out, and we're doing that now, and monitor it to ensure it works for everybody going forward. Okay. Anything else?
Thank you. Yeah.
Services from any other cabinet members? Paul.
Thanks, Leader. Yes, just to echo Councillor Sweeney and others that have said the executive and team have been doing extremely well in the background. In terms of enforcement activity, obviously the health and safety has meant that there was a significant caseload backlog there. That is starting to ease up now as the enforcement staff are able to go out from planning whilst doing their own duties, but also to just shine again on my department under my portfolio of planning. I just heard yesterday that we've achieved 100% on both majors and non-majors. Whilst COVID has been getting to grips with the country, we've managed to keep that functioning side of the planning services, which also helps the public to keep their confidence in the fact that the borough is running well. It's not a disruption of services, and as we recover, the enforcement activity is stepped up to match the expectations of the public as things are relaxed. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. And yeah, just echo all portfolio holders that have inputted into this on the stepping up services part as a thank you to the staff at all levels who've helped to get things up and running again, and we've got a plan to say open J2, and obviously just to touch on the customer service centres. Obviously the library is open for appointments only at the moment, because of course everybody knows we share our library and reception area, county and borough. And when the library opens fully, we will reactivate our customer service presence in the front reception in Castle House, and we'll also be looking at Kids Grove Customer Contact Centre facilities as well going forward. Moving on then to the financial recovery. I think when we last met, we just obviously had indication that we were getting the £1.2 million injection from the government, and I think Stephen can update us on more good news on the finance side from the government in the last few days. Steve.
Yeah, I can. The first tranche of money we had £65,000. The second tranche of money we had £1.3 million. So the government is giving councils £500 million. We do not know how much of that we are going to get, but it'll somewhere between 65,000 and 1.3 million. I've got a feeling probably 200,000 on that one. But more important than that, though, the government has listened. It's listened to ourselves. It's listened to our MPs who've been campaigning hard as well. It's listened, I imagine, to every other council in the country who's pointed out that we need support, more support, and the things that we need to make up the shortfall. The government have said that they're going to give us 75% of all the money that we've lost of our budgeted figures income. We'll lose 25% of it, but they'll give us 75%, which is real money. They'll also spread some of this stuff over 3 years. The collection fund deficit over 3 years, which it doesn't give us any money, but it makes it easier to deal with. They've also said that business rates, when a company goes out of business now, it's not going to be paying us business rates next year. And in the spending review, it's going to look at that and what it's going to do with it. It's also going to look at the council tax arrears and what it's going to do with that. So it's seen our problems, it's responded to our problems, it's listened, and it's making sure that councils have got enough money to do the vital services that we do. I can't give you any more concrete figures than that because we're still working them out, and a lot of them are in estimates on how much money we've lost. And until we've lost it, we don't really know how much we're going to lose. But it's basically it's encouraging, and it's very good that the government have listened to all councils, all MPs. I would imagine all MPs, but certainly are to come up with this package of things for us. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I think that, yeah, great news. I think that's sort of 75% lock, really, that we can get that back from our lost income. I think that's it. The government have listened, the ministers have listened. I've been in district council meetings with Simon Clark, the minister responsible for this, and he has listened. And obviously our MPs have been, as you say, Steve, fighting our corner as well. So good news on that. I think the worry is, of course, looking at next year and the year after's budget, and as you said, Steve, the unknown of the business rate hit and the council tax hit, which is our, the basis of our income. So we need clarity on that, and all councils do, and we're beginning to get that now. We can plan ahead, and I know Jan is crunching the figures along with her team, working tirelessly as they do to try and give us an indication of a way forward on that when we know the figures. But it's good news, better news than we probably thought, and it's actually been tailored to the needs of the council, hasn't it? What we've put forward and what other councils have put forward. Just before I'm going to bring you later on the outturn part of the report, which is 2.21 onward, but just generally for comments from cabinet members on the obviously the financial recovery which we're now into. I'll bring in Paul, as he's top left on my screen at the moment.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, it's challenging times. And I think at this point, I just want to mention the executive here and the managers that have kept their patience, not only with their own staff, but us as members, in trying to get to grips with the financial implications of this. It's difficult times. There's been very challenging conversations, and ones that perhaps we both as members perhaps wouldn't have liked to address because of the coronavirus, but we've managed to get through it with the help of the executive and the management team structure that's provided us with a list of scenarios and outcomes that we could potentially take. So I particularly wish to thank Jan and the team, but also the all executive and the chief executive for working with us and trying to get that two-way communication going to sort this out. I think that's very crucial. I think to understand that it's not a foregone conclusion that this is totally new, that we've had this pandemic, and to respond to it. There's been no template to match this, and I think it's a testament to everybody involved that that the two-way communication has been quite clear. It's been fractious at times, but we've overcome that. The cooperation of both members and executive has been good, and it's produced the outcomes that we're in a healthier position than we were at the start of this to be able to respond financially, not just immediately, but in the forthcoming challenges of the next few years. So I'm pleased that the government have recognised that local councils need that little bit of additional support, but we still face those challenges, that we still need to manage our own budgets and cut our cloth accordingly. And you know, in the event that we haven't had that income stream from businesses, from business rates, etc. So all steam ahead, really, and I can't praise staff enough, really. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, I mean, the obviously dedication to getting back on track, which is what we've called this plan, and that's what that's all about. What you've just been saying there, Paul, financially back on track with our council plan priorities, which we're keeping a check on as well, and obviously making sure our residents are okay, well-being wise, and also okay financially, and businesses are okay financially as well, which we've done. Helena, do you want to come in?
Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, really along the same lines as what Paul's just said. Really, it's a thanks go out to, again, those behind the scenes who are having to do the number crunch. You know, we're having to have those difficult conversations. We have found ourselves in unprecedented times. We haven't had to deal with this kind of pandemic before, but I think the way that it's been dealt with has been still left us in a strong position, if you like. We don't know what the future is holding at the moment, but for us to be in a positive state that we are now, it can only be applauded for those who've been looking at what needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Helena. Anything else from Jill or Trevor? No? Okay.
Just from me.
Yes, Trevor, yeah.
Yeah, it's just to say, I know it's a challenge, but I've got every faith in the team that we've got in place, and we get through it okay. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, I think that's praise for you as well, Steve, there. So I'll bring you back in, Steve, just to touch on the issue to do with the outturn and the accounts started on 2.20 of the report. Steve.
Yeah, because of everything going on, the accounts have been put back. We're having a deficit. We're going to declare a deficit this year of £207,000. That is entirely due to COVID hitting at the end of the financial year. Without that, we'd have a balanced set of accounts as you would have expected. That's going to come from reserves, although it must be noted the reserves are still £800,000 more than we budgeted for. So huge credit really to the officers for announcing these figures. And I think £207,000 loss over the year, over last year is as good as you could possibly hope for, really. I think in very, 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 very trying times. Thank you, Leader.
Yeah. And it's that baseline, as it says in the report, that we are obviously taking forward, looking at the renewal of the MTFS and also the financial plans for future years. And as it says also in the report, the Audit and Standards Committee will formally approve the full statements of accounts in September. And Steve and Jan will be there to present them on behalf of the Cabinet for them to make that decision in the usual way on that. So I think that concludes the report on Back on Track update for us. The proposal is, as we obviously we note the report and we've spoke about it and given praise where it's due, not only to our own staff and the management, but also to the government for the funding that they have put in at the right time in the right areas, and hopefully that will go forward, because I think, you know, local government is expecting more help in the future and will need it as we recover from this. But I think we're in a better position than we probably thought we would be at this stage, and by planning ahead we can ensure we stay in a good position and deliver on those priorities which we've set and won obviously our mandates on, and at the election in 2018. So we can continue to build on those things and deliver what we said we were going to do. So we all agree the recommendation?
Agreed.
Thank you. Moving on then to the second report today, that's the Future High Streets Fund. And we're reaching a significant landmark today in our bid to attract funding to shape the future of Newcastle Town Centre. Members will remember back in August 2019, the council was invited to progress to the phase 2 of the Future High Streets Fund bidding process. And we were awarded funding, 150k, to build a business case to outline our aspirations for the town. The submission of the bid could bring up to £25 million in for town centre regeneration. The centrepiece of our bid is, of course, the long-awaited redevelopment of the Rycroft site, which includes demolishing the old civic offices and using the whole of the site for employment and residential opportunities. The aim is to help footfall in the town centre and with more people living and working within the area of the ring road, to help the existing retail businesses and the historic market in the core centre of the town, which of course everybody knows for various reasons has suffered over recent years. And this is all in line with this administration's priority of creating a town centre for all. The plans include a mix of accommodation for all ages, and it's a step change from the failed retail-led and student accommodation scheme pursued by the previous administration. I'm sure Cabinet members will realise that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Newcastle, and the bid will be submitted by the end of July. It's ambitious, it's forward-thinking, and helps us to create the vibrant town centre that we know our residents want to see. Now, I'm going to ask the Chief Executive now to put up some slides which were appended to the Cabinet agenda, which we could go through. So we've been asked to endorse some key elements from the bid today, and these include on the first drawing here, which shows an office and apartment accommodation building, particularly for retired living, with associated open space and parking. That's basically on part of most of the footprint of the existing civic offices, which will be demolished as part of these proposals. And as you can see, there are basic artist concept drawings of what this could look like. Of course, it would be going through a planning application and would be designed fully up, but that's just an indication of an office and also an apartment, residential apartment for retired living, which we would want to put on that part of the site. Looking at slide 2, which is the centre of the site, that is proposed for a residential development with business elements as well. And what we're looking for here is probably young professionals, etc., and also people that might be running a business from one of the units on there, for example, live and work in the same environment with obviously a public realm element to that as well. As you can see, the plans there, again, very, very basic concept drawings at the bottom there. But that exciting proposal, really something we've wanted to do in Newcastle for a number of years, and this site really lends it to that and would, again, creates footfall for the town centre and also creates a business element on this site. Slide number 3 is for a new multi-storey car park, which will link into the town centre and also connect with the residential areas to the north of the town centre outside of the ring road. And this is really a deliberate act, really, is to put a car park on the corner of the site here, which then, as I've just said, would allow footfall to walk into the centre of the town and also use any retail that it comes across along the way. That's the way a lot of cities do, and towns. They have their main car parks on the edge of town, and people walk in to do what business they intend to do, either visit the market or shop or go to the bank if they're open. Might also do other business and other retail activity on the way in there, or go for a drink, a coffee or something, or have a meal. Slide number 4. On the back of that, it opens the opportunity then of linking this site truly into the town centre, and that would be for the creation of a plaza, public open space with pedestrian routes into the core of the town centre around the current Ashley Walk area, offering a new retail and also community use opportunities in that area, as detailed by number 4 there. A really exciting proposal here is reusing, rebuilding the Ashley Walk area and really opening up that part of town to the Rycroft area, and then linking straight through to Iron Market and then into the core of the town with the market and the main retail in Iron Market and High Street. I think then if we move to one of the aerial concept drawings there, as you can see how it will look, you've got St Giles's Church up on the top there, and then the new student accommodation at the Savoy over on the left, just for orientation. You've got Merrill Street on the road that runs through to the left there, and Fog Street right up this top end, which will be a key link into the town centre for the businesses there. They'll be on a main route into town if this development becomes reality. And just to point out, with the relocation of the multi-storey car park to the Rycroft, that then creates an opportunity to redevelop the Midway car park site, which everybody knows is an ageing car park, not very good facility. And if we can obviously build the multi-storey facility on the Rycroft site, we can then look at residential development on the Midway car park site. So I think there's just one more picture, isn't there, Martin, which is a different angle, which is basically from above the health centre outside of the ring road, looking right through. And as you can see the link through there to the Ashley Walk development. And then behind that is the main retail and Lancaster buildings and the Guildhall and the market, etc. So I think exciting proposals. I think it's what we were looking for out of the Future High Streets Fund is a real step change for the town. And the amounts of money which we're bidding for on this will enable that work to start and to be seen through to completion, and also some public realm improvements around the Guildhall relating to the market, and also some public space things there as well. So exciting proposals, really pleased about it. And I think we can, because of the way the government are approaching the Future High Streets Fund, I believe the council is in a good position to get the funding to start the project off and beyond that as well. So we will be going out to partners over the next couple of weeks to get their support. They've been involved, the local MP, Keel and Aspire have all been involved at the early stage on this, and we're hoping that they will now, and the LEP, hoping that they will put in letters of support with this proposal so we can put a good Team Newcastle effort into the government to get this funding and get the sign off so we can start work on the scheme finally to regenerate and redevelop the Rycroft site, which has been a long time in coming. If you want to go back to the screen now, Martin, and I'll bring in some cabinet members for comments. Start with Steve.
Yeah, thank you, leader. I don't normally get carried away in a very excitable sort of person, but I think this scheme is absolutely superb. It has to be transformative. We've always talked about a place where you can work, rest, and play, i.e., the town centre. People living in there, working in there, going out there. I think it's a really, really exciting vision for a new Newcastle, if you like. It expands the town. It's not sort of contracting into one corner. It's expanding the whole sort of offer, and I absolutely totally support it. I think it's an excellent vision for Newcastle. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Paul.
Thank you, leader. Yes, this is. I'm really excited about this. Let's face it. Newcastle needs that injection, that boost to bring it up to the standards that people expect modern towns to be able to deliver. This is exciting times. You've already outlined that we need to get the LEP and key partners fully engaged with this, but this is early stage. And just to outline to viewers that may be tuning in that the map is actually indicative. The block buildings aren't going to be exactly how they look. It's just a graphical representation of where things are in terms of this presentation. But just to underline the fact that this if we get this investment, will bring that much needed boost, especially to this side of Newcastle that's been probably neglected for so long now, to give that vibrancy and bring back that injection that it so sorely needs in Newcastle, and to give that identity that we are a town to be proud of. Which we already are, but this will really sing the praises if we manage to bring it all into play and we manage to secure that funding that allows us to deliver it. You've mentioned, leader, the Midway car park, which is tired and is quite dilapidated in terms of modern day standards, and to have that possibility of bringing that back into proper use as an alternative scenario and providing the parking elsewhere in a more attractive, accessible way will also increase the footfall that we need in Newcastle to support the businesses. And to deliver this now, I think if we take the foot off the gas and not deliver this in a fairly short time frame, I think it's critical with this pandemic that it's going to be part of our recovery to get this online and to get that secured funding. It's important. So I want to stress that we need to keep everybody on board. We need to keep lobbying the MPs to make sure that we get not just a shout, but a good firm shout that we need this money to transform Newcastle Centre. Thank you.
I keep bringing Jill first and then Helena.
Thank you, leader. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it looks really exciting. I think the plans look very well thought out, and it looks modern, and I think it's going to open up and brighten parts of the town, let more lighting and space. And I like the idea of the linked plazas. I like the look of the retirement village and the apartment building. There's going to be more community space and new business space, and I absolutely love the idea of the pocket park in the town centre, and the idea of the multi-use of the benches I've seen that you can use them during the day, and then they turn into benches for the markets. I think it all absolutely looks amazing, and you know, Paul's right. You know, it's something we can be proud of if we can get it done. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Helena.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, again, what everybody else has said, I think, you know, the fact is that the town centre is taking a hit over the years, and Newcastle is no different to any other town centre. So it'll be good to see these sites developed, because currently they are far from inspiring or pleasing on entry. It needs to be brought up to standard and made it more modern, and using the available land. The mixed accommodation that's is going to be put in again, we've got, you know, diverse residential opportunities for all ages. It's not just simply singling out young students or elderly or anybody else. It's for everyone to be able to live together and use the town centre as it's meant to be. I mean, they can only add to the increased footfall, which can support your local businesses, and ultimately this enables the long-term sustainability of the town centre. So as both Councillor Northcott and Councillor Warren have just said, you know, we need to plough on with this now, especially with COVID that's been on. We need to sort of, you know, make sure that everybody's on board, and we can push this through, hopefully, to the next stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Helena. And I think for me, this goes back to what the original aspirations were for this site in 2011. And I think Stephen, during his period as leader, the latter part of my last period of leader, we purchased with the County Council the old Sainsbury's site and demolished that because this was the bigger plan to create living, to create business on the edge of the town centre within the ring road. And it's unfortunate during the period when me and Steve weren't involved that it went awry, isn't it? I'm not singing our own praises here, but the plans which were put forward, which you know, I don't think ever got universal agreement, really, and obviously that's now ended now, thankfully, and we can move forward with these proposals which we're putting into the Future High Streets Fund. And as I say, optimistic we will get some money for this. Hopefully we'll get the amount we want to begin this scheme and put it through to completion and deliver on this site finally for Newcastle. Just a couple of things that came up in the conversation about, I think quite right, Paul, about the design at the moment is indicative, and I think we'll be in control of the design on this project, not leaving it to a third party. And I think we need to look at appropriate design on the edge of the town centre. But when we look at the York Place development, if there is a demolish and rebuild on the line of what it says in the plans, we also look at a traditional build there, which reflects some of the buildings that were knocked down in the 60s and then replaced by the not so architecturally nice buildings in York Place at the moment, and that we do replace them with something better and something more in keeping with the the Georgian heritage of Newcastle. I think also recommendation 3, which we've got before us here, is that related to public consultation. We did have, and I remember it was in one of the Lancaster building shops, was used for a consultation exercise just before obviously the COVID-19 lockdown. So we did do significant public consultation previously in the year, and we intend to do more of that as we go forward on this. And I think initially these the plans were given the thumbs up by the people who took part in, dropped into the consultation that we had back back in the spring. And I think that puts us in a good stead to see that we're on the right track. And many people that I speak to when I'm knocking on doors at election time, they say, please get people living in the town centre, please do something about that car park, please help the retail by creating footfall. So these do those things, and I think that's if the government are backing Newcastle as they are doing on the town deal, and they have done so far on Future High Streets Fund, we can really use that money to get that sort of once in a lifetime change to our town, as everybody has said, to move it forward in a positive manner. So the recommendations before us, Cabinet members, are that we note and approve the elements of the business case which we've just outlined and we're agreeing for submission, and that myself and the Executive Director finalise the details. That's also talking to our key partners to get their letters of support in, as we've said, for the submission to the Ministry of Housing and Communities and Local Government later in the month, and then obviously at the right point we do further public consultation. I think that comes in when it comes to knowing what sort of money we're getting from the government, and we can then move to applying application stages. We want the public's input, going back to issues of design and sort of positioning of some of these developments that we're planning here. I think the public's view on them, because in the end it is everybody's town. It's a town centre for all we're trying to create, and through that we will be listening to what the public say as part of these exciting proposals. So those recommendations before us, do we all agree?
Agreed.
Excellent, thank you. We can move that forward then. And I think, as Stephen said, he doesn't get excited about much other than when his daughter does very well at university, but he is excited about these because it is worthy to be excited about, and more will come on these proposals in the next few months, hopefully. Right, moving back to our agenda, item 6 is our forward plan. When we look at what business is coming up over the next few 3 months or so for the council. If there are any comments, please raise them. I'll go through page by page, a bit difficult online to see what the pages are, but page 33, page 34, I'm not zooming, I think that's it, isn't it? Page 34. Only thing which I'd just like to flag up we've added there is the sustainable environment strategy work. That's been obviously because of COVID-19, the working parties of scrutiny haven't been taking place, but we've just given the green light for that to start up again. I think obviously the new normal, wherever that's going to be, will have a more greener normal, and obviously we will reflect that on our sustainable environment strategy that we've committed to. We've already signed up to the climate emergency motion that most councils have across the country. We've signed up to the government's sort of drive in this direction, and we know our own local flavour on that through our local sustainable environment strategy. And the first steps of that will be scrutiny to review some of the parameters for that, and then our officers will take that forward and bring something to cabinet in the future. And Trevor we'll see Trevor's, can't see him now, but Trevor is will be working on that as the cabinet member for that. So watch this space over the next few months for that. But that's the forward plan before us. Can we agree that?
Agreed.
Agreed. Good. Thank you. Looking at item 7, urgent business. I don't have any urgent business. Item 8, there is no confidential items for us to exclude the public, so we can move on from that. I have had no questions or indications that anybody wants to contribute from the public or other councillors. So I will call this meeting closed. Thanks to cabinet members and officers and those that have been either viewing on Zoom or even viewing